So it looks like the iPhone may finally get emulators. Kinda. It's WrestleMania Sunday, so it's extra sensational. I'm Mike, and oh yeah, I'm back to talk about the gaming news. That wasn't that good, I'm sorry. But anyway, speaking of the gaming news, I use my iPhone to research these stories for these videos. It's a device that's with me most of the time, so it makes sense, and it's also that reason that people like to play games on their phone. It's just nice to have games installed on the device that you're already gonna have with you most of the time. But if you own an iPhone like me, the path to playing certain games has been challenging. And that's due to Apple having full control of what goes in the App Store, and if it's not in their App Store, there aren't many options to like sideload an app on an iPhone other than jailbreaking it. And the reason I'm talking about all of this today is because of emulators. The iPhone basically hasn't allowed emulators on their App Store the same way that they didn't allow game streaming on their App Store, which recently changed. And that may also be what happens with emulators in the App Store, as their policy finally changed to allow emulators, but it may not be the way people actually want. So the specific language of this policy change states, retro console emulator apps can offer to download games. You are responsible for all such software offered in your app, including ensuring that such software complies with guidelines and all applicable laws. Software that does not comply with one or more of the guidelines will lead to the rejection of your app. So that was a snippet of the new guidelines for app developers, but it's sounding like this change may be for companies that have legal rights to retro games to distribute an emulator that includes games that they have the right to distribute, but not necessarily to be able to put ROMs on your iPhone file system and be able to load them in an emulator. So basically it could be someone like Capcom, they can do a retro game collection using an emulator that they created, which is probably not what most people want when it comes to running an emulator. But right now, it's too early to know if they'll actually allow these apps to access the file system for users to run software. Emulators have been available on Android for a very long time because it's a way more open ecosystem. So it's not like this is new territory for phones in general. It's only for the iOS platform. Personally, I'm not too interested in playing emulators on my phone just because I don't like touch controls or taking off my phone case to use one of the backbone controllers. And plus, it always feels like as soon as I try to play a console game on my phone, something happens, like a text message comes in or I want to look up something and I have to end up closing out of the game. So personally, it's not for me, but I think it would be cool to have that option. But Apple isn't the only one looking to make a policy change, because there's a new organization called Stop Killing Games that's looking to make it illegal for companies to, well, kill games. So the founder of YouTube channel The Cursed Farms has put together a website in hopes to get digital signatures and submit petitions to government bodies to get them to change the laws around live service game shutdowns. Essentially, he thinks that games should be legally viewed as goods and not as a service. If games were viewed as goods, they wouldn't be able to be rendered inoperable after they're sold to a customer, according to the PC Gamer article. They also talk about the game The Crew shutting its servers down after 10 years, and the creator of the site mentioned that he's been receiving a lot of complaints. Right now, it seems that the creator of the site is targeting France first because they seem to be the most receptive towards making this change, and he hopes that if one government makes a change, it could influence change globally. Now, personally, I do feel like it is an issue when live service games are taken offline, because in the future, you just can't go back and play those games again. We've also seen it happen with games that are only a few years old, like they fail after launch and they get taken offline. The only problem is, how would this legislation work if a company can't financially support a game's server costs anymore, or that company just goes under completely? It's a really tough problem to solve, but it is something that needs to be addressed. If there was some kind of legislation that at least said you have to keep servers up for a certain amount of time after you launch a game, it probably would help and make them reconsider if they want to launch this as a live service game at all. Either way, I don't think it's a problem that's easily solvable, even if the government did force a change, but I do agree it's time to take steps in addressing these type of shutdowns, because they're only going to become more prevalent as time goes on. But games aren't the only thing that rely on servers. It turns out some consoles do too, like the PlayStation Portal. That's actually funny, because I was planning on talking about that today. And our final story. So a few months ago, there was a story that a couple of Google engineers cracked the PlayStation Portal and actually got PSP games to run natively on it. There wasn't any footage released of the exploit, they just posted a picture of GTA Liberty City Stories running on the Portal. Well, if you're hoping that it will lead to the Portal exploit eventually becoming available to the public, well, it's been fixed. So Sony released patch 2.06, which fixed the exploit that allowed the PSP emulator to run on the console. so it looks like the exploit isn't going to work anymore if someone managed to figure out how to use it. The reason the exploit was fixed is because the Google engineers who found the exploit went on to report it to Sony, which makes sense. I mean, they're engineers for a major company. It would probably reflect poorly on them if they released an exploit for another company's device instead of reporting it to them. So it doesn't mean that there'll never be any exploits for the portal and they won't be able to run any other games in the future, but that particular one has been fixed. Just like I'm fixing to get out of here and go watch WrestleMania. And normally I would ask a question related to the stuff we just talked about, but I want to know who you think's going to win tonight. Cody or Roman? Let me know. I know it's not relevant to the video at all. Cody or Roman? You better say Cody or, you know, I'm gonna say something in the comments. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification to be notified when I drop a video or a live stream. And I always do at least 2 things at the same time.